Welcome back to the channel, everybody. To this month's complete set presentation, I'm going to take you back to the year the White Sox ruled baseball. This will be the 2005 Top Set. The 2005 Top Set was split into two series. You had Series 1, which consisted of 367 cards, and Series 2, which went from 368 to 734. There is a bonus in this video because I actually have the Traded and Update series also included in this, so you get to see all the cards and the card designs throughout the entirety of the main flagship top release. All right, so let's kind of jump into it. I'll talk a little bit about the 2005 Season 2 as we do this. Let's look at the very first page, and I'll introduce the basic card design here. So you can see the this design itself had a gold at the top with the player's name, and also gold foil down here featuring the year on the front of the card, as well as the Topps logo itself. The team name and also the player's name, full name, are on the side here. And then obviously inside the box was a beautiful color image. Along that, you have this piping that had the team colors for the team. So here you got the Yankees, you got kind of the silver and the blue. The Phillies here, you got the blue and the red. One of the other interesting feature about the first series is the last series where you see playing day expos cards, because by the time you get to Series 2, you start seeing them in Nationals uniform, because it was the very first year of the Washington Nationals, which was the first team to be in D.C. since 1971. So it was a pretty big year, and it was obviously the previous year was the end of baseball in Montreal, and but not for Canada, as the Toronto Blue Jays have continued on to this day. All right, so this actually is a lower print run from today's series, so even like some of the base cards, especially the rookies, if you get these graded, they do hold some value. The big one in this one's going to be Justin Verlander when we get to him. But there was two parallels that were inserted within packs, as well as many different series that you could get inserts in here that featured autographs and highlights and things like that. I'll kind of like talk about some of the cooler ones as we go through it. I don't have any of the inserts available, but what I do have are the two different parallel sets of the base set that were available. First, you have the gold design still. This was obviously the fourth year that they did numbered parallels for this. They had 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is actually the fifth year that they did it. Here's my Derek Jeter. I also have another Derek Jeter, which is featured later in the set. This is a gold glove card. I also have an Ozzie Guillen card. Him and his manager uniform for the White Sox that season. But they also had the black cards, which is the third year they did black. Here's a couple examples of it. Really attractive card design. And they're numbered out of 52 or 54 on the back. The first year was out of 52. Previous year was out of 53. Then you also have Joe Creedy. I haven't done well on my project to be able to acquire more of these of the White Sox to celebrate that season. These cards actually hold a decent value even to this day because there was only two different parallels that were available. And the print runs were much smaller. In fact, you could have easily gotten a gold card. If you bought a hobby box, you probably were guaranteed about 3 of them in there, which is very different from today's print run where you might not get any in there, but you'll probably get some sort of parallel, but it's not necessarily guaranteed to be a numbered parallel. All right, so as of anything, I'll kind of talk a little bit about the season, point out some of the stars of the game. This is going to be littered with steroid players, so a lot of these guys who otherwise in other eras would have been Hall of Famers are just kind of on the outs looking in or on the ballot, not getting enough votes at this point to be able to get awarded Hall of Fame credentials at this point. So, all right, let's jump in here. So we got A-Rod leading off the set. This was, I think, his second full season in New York with the Yankees after he was brought over from the Rangers at that point. We got Johnny Damon, Torrey Hunter, very good players during their time, as well as Francisco Rodriguez. Sammy Sosa here still with the Cubs. He actually has a different card at the end in the update series where he's with his Baltimore Orioles. We got Tom Glavine on the base, which I think is pretty funny. Jim Edmonds, a good player during his time. Darren Erstad, definitely a pretty good player, had a great 2000 season. Jim Thome, who briefly with the Phillies at this point. Very next season, he came over with the White Sox. We got Ivan Rodriguez, Craig Biggio, back-to-back. Beltre, also on this page. So we got 3 different Hall of Famers there. Gary Sheffield, again, another one of those guys on the outs looking in with 500-plus home runs. He got caught up in the Balco investigation, too, along with Bonds and Giambi as the main guys In fact, this was the first year that they actually initiated the mandatory testing for the Major League Baseball players in response to the Balco scandal. So the players, because of the test results they did under the anonymous testing, tested high enough to be able to institute this policy. And so we started seeing a lot of big names get suspended, starting with Rafael Palmeiro, who previously lied under oath during a congressional testimony, I believe, in 2003, which was a backlash to the Balco scandal at that time. All right, so we got Andrew Jones, David Ortiz. Pretty cool pictures, man. I think this set just really kind of pops. You know when the base sets during this era were really, really good? Now I feel like they're kind of waiting for the chrome release or the sapphire release to kind of really have the cars pop. Here you didn't have to wait for them to really look nice. Here we got Frank Thomas, good old Jimmy Rollins, Barry Zito, the big donkey, Adam Dunn. Here we go. A few horizontal cards in this set too. Here we got Brett Boone, Garrett Anderson, or Marlon Anderson, sorry, Garrett Anderson. Missed that one. Got Flash Gordon, Albert Pujols. And we got the Molina brothers, at least Jose and Benji. Yachty's not in that card. They were on the same team at that point. We got Mark Burley, one of my favorite White Sox players. Santana, very good pitcher during his time. We got Billy Wagner. It's actually going to be at the big card show coming up, signing autographs. Mariano Rivera. El Duque. You tell this was a year where I was really a big baseball fan because all these names really kind of bring back memories as I look at these. Good old Matt Holliday. Now his son is obviously in the league. Here's a little gold cup with it. So it was after his first full season. Jeff Kent probably needs to be put in the Hall of Fame. He just needs to be a nicer person to the writers. Mike Mussina, Vladimir Guerrero. Here's one of the Expo cards, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Greg Maddux. And this takes back. So I have a lot of cards here. I'm going to go through here as quickly as I can. So some of the inserts you could have gotten here is good old Canerco. In this set, Luis Gonzalez, good player during his time. Some of the interesting inserts you could have gotten during this one is they had a lot of like historic cut signatures of like really famous people in history, which are really hard to pull. You can look those up. But some of the ones that were fun for baseball fans is they had a whole series of cards related to the 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers, and some of those were autographed as well. You can still get some of those fairly affordable even to this day. Here we got Andy Pettitte. It's a whole autograph series, and there was all these home run highlight cards for Barry Bonds at this point, because that was something they did during this decade where they had like home run highlight cards for like Mantle and Bonds, and I think even for a period of time for A-Rod. Bobby Abreu, good player during his time. We've got Giambi. Let me speed up a little bit. Trevor Hoffman. Chris Carpenter. So Carpenter was interesting because your award winners for this year is you got your Cy Young Award winner was Chris Carpenter, and also Bartolo Colon. I forgot that Chris Carpenter had won one. I remember that Colon had, but I forgot about that. So. That's Berkman, good player during his time. Miguel Tejada, probably right around the time he got suspended. Here's Bartolo Colon. Derek Lee, who had a really breakout season that year. Miguel Cabrera. The only player that's still active from this set is Justin Verlander. Prior the pitching coach for the Dodgers. Congratulations to the Dodgers reaching the World Series to play the Yankees. I'm excited to see that start Friday. Go Carlos Zambrano at the plate. I think that's always funny to see pitchers hitting, which you won't see anymore. Michael Barrett. Before he punched A.J. Pierzynski, I'll remember that one. And here we go. We got manager cards, like we did for these sets. You still can definitely get some of the managers, which is cool, because you can get some Hall of Fame managers in this set that you don't get anymore. We got Bobby Cox. Here's one of them. Terry Francona, soon to be probably Hall of Fame manager. Dusty Baker, along with Terry. Here's Ozzie. Local favorite here, Alan Trammell, when he managed the terrible Tigers, who lost 119 games, I think 2 years previous to this. Although my team has exceeded that. That was part of the reason I actually wanted to revisit 2005 with this set, because it was such a bad season. Love the Jack McKeon with his cigar in his mouth. 2 years removed from winning the World Series himself. Frank Robinson. I think this, it's not his last card in a top set. I think it was 2006 was his last one. Last one was an Expo, that's for sure. Joe Torre. Pretty cool stuff, man. There's Bochy. Tony La Russa. Little Pinella. And then we have a series of first-year cards. I think some of these are draft pick cards. Some of them are just prospect cards. So Melky Cabrera is like one of the bigger ones. So is Ian Kinsler. Two not really big names in the grand scheme of things, but good players, serviceable players for years, along with Andre Ethier, mostly with the Dodgers, but here he is with the A's. A lot of guys you don't recognize, or if you did, had very brief careers. There's David Wright featured there. Not a rookie card, but then we have season highlight cards. Talks a little bit about Randy Johnson. Got Griffey, got his 500th home run the previous year. Maddox won his 300th game. Ichiro broke the single season hit record. So we got some really cool highlight cards there, especially for some player collectors for these three. Those are really cool ones because they're definitely big milestones in their careers. Then you have the 2004 leaders. A lot of Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers featured here. We got Ichiro and Vladimir Guerrero. Ichiro again and Vladimir Guerrero. David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, my guy Paul Konerko. Here we go. We got David Ortiz again, Manny Ramirez. On this card, we got Schilling. This one, we got Schilling, Pedro, and Santana. Batting leaders, Todd Helton, Beltre. So what else we got here? We got hits leaders. Nobody really knows. You have Juan Pierre on there. Home run leaders, we got Beltre, Pujols. On this one, we got runs batted in. We have Scott Rowland, Albert Pujols. Up there, Vinny Castilla. There's a name from the past. Randy Johnson here, along with Jake Peavy when he was really good. Got Randy Johnson with Ben Sheets when he was really good. Let me start moving into the 2004 postseason highlights. So talking a little bit about, again, for 2005, one of the other award winners, as we kind of went through some of the big names that led the league. Let's talk about 2005 real quick, and we just went through the managers. The managers of the year are going to be Bobby Cox with the Atlanta Braves, and also Ozzie Guillen, obviously, who took his team to the World Series that year and won. So he'll ever go down in like local lore as like an all-time great just because he did that. But he was also Rookie of the Year when he played for us as well. And your MVPs were Alex Rodriguez and then also Albert Pujols, one of my guys. So we got the postseason highlights. They do the division series here first for 2004. Moving into then the ALCS and NLCS, which the World Series that previous year featured the Red Sox and also the St. Louis Cardinals. I think there's a second series or a series dedicated just to that World Series, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have the Sporting News All-Stars, which are pretty cool cards. You'll see those again in the update series with 2005 people, but 2004, some of the interesting ones. We got my guy Paul Konerko, Vladimir Guerrero, Soriano, Ichiro. Just really cool, man. Imagine getting like black parallel, gold parallels of these. Really collectible cards. Ivan Rodriguez, Konerko again, David Ortiz. We've got Garrett Anderson, postseason highlights. Talk about the World Series. Talks about the sweep by the Red Sox. One little card dedicated to that. Here we go. Got the Series 2 coming up here, starting with Randy Johnson, who moved over to the Yankees. There's Palmeiro, as I mentioned earlier, getting suspended for substance use. My guy Maglio Ordonez with the Tigers there. Some pretty good seasons to come still with the Tigers. Got Todd Helton. Here we see our first Nationals card. A lot of these pictures are taken during spring training. By the time we get to the update series, we'll see them during in actual play. Manny Ramirez, your World Series MVP for 2005. Jermaine Dye. There's good old Dontrell Willis. Ichiro, pretty cool one. Sliding into home and signaling that he was safe. Pretty cool. Kerry Wood up there. Carl Everett, who doesn't believe in dinosaurs. Maybe that's changed. Omar Vizquel with the Giants. Hideki Matsui. Some big names. Carlos Beltran, first year with the Mets. Kenny Lofton, briefly with the Phillies. Remember that one? I sure don't. Jose Reyes, who was a really good player during this time. You got Carlos Delgado briefly with the Marlins. And the Marlins weren't necessarily a bad destination because they actually were kind of good. Ken Griffey Jr., CC Sabathia. Just great players. Mike Piazza. Posada. Peavy. A couple pages now without any huge stars. Chase Utley. Might get in the Hall of Fame at some point. There's David Wells, or Boomer Wells. It actually says Boomer Wells, even though it's David Wells. Listed by his nickname. Forgot they pitched for the Red Sox, too, after he was with the Yankees. Barry Bonds. Sweet. Good old Garcia Parra with the Cubs, which always felt funny to me. Even though I remember that trade pretty well. Bernie Williams, pretty cool card there. He was near the end of his career. Ray Durham near the end of his career. Good White Sox player. Roy Oswalt, very good pitcher during this era. Got Chipper Jones. Justin Morneau, former MVP. Larry Walker, Hall of Famer with the Cardinals. Roger Clemens. Pedro Martinez with the Mets, also one of their big acquisitions that year. Man, I got Beltran and Martinez in the same offseason. That's kind of crazy. Martinez had a couple good seasons with the Mets, but his he was starting to run on E by the time he came over to the New York Mets. Too many innings. Derek Jeter, my guy. I like that he has a horizontal card too. Here's Jeff Bagwell. Scott Rowland. Yadi Molina. All right, so now we got the team cards. It's like team picture day. Nothing too exciting here. Got the Expos listed here, which I thought was kind of interesting. All right, I think the only award I didn't mention so far is your Rookie of the Years, which were Ryan Howard and Hudson Street. Here we go. We got your draft picks, 2005 draft picks, first year cards. That's when they inserted them in the base set. They're done differently now. There's the big one, Justin Verlander. And the print runs aren't too high of these, so if you went ahead and submitted that for grading, it wouldn't be a bad idea, which I may do at some point. Color parallels would be better. Here's Ryan Howard, as I mentioned earlier. Little Felix Hernandez listed there too. Really good players. We got these like featured cards that feature more than one player. Sometimes they're on the same team, sometimes they're not. Got a couple of those in here. Now we have our award winners. These are going to be your Gold Glove winners. Got Ichiro on this page. Derek Jeter. Ivan Rodriguez. Got the Kenny Rogers was a pretty good fielder too. Greg Maddux, Todd Helton, Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds, Andrew Jones. And you got your Cy Young orders from the previous year. We got Clemens and Santana. MVPs, Bonds and Guerrero. Your Rookie of the Years, you got Jason Bay and Bobby Crosby. We got more Sporting News All-Stars too. So now we got Albert Pujols, very cool card. Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds, Chris Carpenter, a lot of Cardinal players. They're really good during this time. Bobby Cox. Oh, here we go. We got the World Series cards. So I was wrong. They have a few more here. So it talks a little bit about them reaching the World Series and sweeping my St. Louis Cardinals and winning their first World Series in like forever. All right, so here you got special inserts. With the complete sets, you would get, and I bought a complete set, you didn't really have a choice based on where you lived. You just kind of would get a default, but a couple teams had like team versions of sets. So you would get like some special insert cards of like prospects for those teams, which would be first year cards. Nobody like super big of note. I saw like Curtis Granderson's kind of in one with the Tigers, and I think Robinson Cano had one as well with the Yankees. So here's the Cubs. I don't think any of these guys end up having a cup of coffee at all. And now we have the update series, which is cool. This was also sold in box form. You can get that. It's not just hobby box too, and also retail. So I bought the box when it came out because it also had highlights from the 2005 season, which you'll see all the 2005 highlights. And this came out during 2005, so they quickly produced these cards and included a lot of their 2005 stats on here, especially the highlights. So we got Sammy Sosa after he got kicked out of Chicago, essentially. Went over to the Orioles briefly before he went back to the Rangers and retired. Got Aaron Boone there. That's fun. Interesting rookies coming up too. All right, some of these are going to be players that moved during the season, by and large. Go John Olerud towards the end of his career here. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because there's not really too many big names. Got Al Leiter there. Brzezinski coming over to the White Sox. That was big for us. Lee going to the Brewers was big for them. So he really started having some breakout seasons by the time he was over there. We got Jeff Kent again. And with the Dodgers. Chris Young now the general manager for the Texas Rangers. Ria going over to the Red Sox. Good shortstop in his time. Mark Mulder, one good season with the Cardinals before his arm was kind of shot. We have some manager changes through the year. Nothing too exciting. You see a Willie Randolph though, who managed those New York Mets. We got prospect cards. Some of these are rookie cards. Most of them are not. Phil Hughes is in there. Carlos Quentin, rookie was in the previous year. Felix Hernandez, his rookie was in update for 2004. David Murphy, I think his rookie was the previous year too. Then we got season highlights for 2005, which is pretty interesting because now you'd wait for like the next year's release to see some of these things. Biggio breaks the hit by pitch record. Probably not the coolest card in the world, him getting beamed there. Maniff got his 3,000 strikeout. Abreu won the home run championship. A-Rod was the youngest to reach 400 home runs. Hoffman reached 400 saves. Postseason highlights. We're jumping into the division series. White Sox swept the Red Sox. The Cardinals advanced. I think they played the Padres. The Angels upset the Yankees and got to the ALCS. And then here the Houston Astros knocked off the Atlanta Braves. So then we got to the ALCS, which you kind of featured here. The Angels took game 1. Remember that pretty well. The White Sox won a controversial game 2 and then just shut them down in games 3, 4, and 5 and won 4-1 to get to the ALCS. The postseason here, really wanted to see them play the Cardinals, but the Astros really kind of stood up and almost took it in 5, but in game... almost took it in 6, but in game 6, Pujols hit one of the biggest home runs of his career in Houston. If you want to look up that highlight, hitting this huge home run, actually it's game 5, forcing game 6 back in St. Louis when he hit a home run off of Brad Lidge. I believe it was the 9th inning, and it was one of the biggest home runs of his career as it kind of almost left the ballpark in Minute Maid at that time. And then the Astros came back and won the next game, which took us into the World Series, which the White Sox swept. So we got game 1, 2, 3, which ended extra innings of a home run by Jeff Blum, who was to play for the Astros. And then in game 5, they won 1-0. And we have our 2005 leaders: A-Rod, David Ortiz, and Manny Ramirez. Here we got A-Rod for averages and Vlad Guerrero. Our guy leaders: Ortiz, Teixeira, Manny Ramirez. Wins leader was Colon. Well, we got John Garland on there for the White Sox, which was pretty cool. ERA leaders. Got Mark Burley from a good old White Sox. We have strikeouts. Randy Johnson was second. Home run leaders in the NL, we had Andrew Jones, who had a really big season that year. Derek Lee, who had a big season. Albert Pujols had a big season. The batting average leaders, the only one different was Miguel Cabrera of that group. RBI leaders, we have Andrew Jones, Albert Pujols, and Pat Burrell got in there. Wins leaders, Chris Carpenter was second, led by Dontrelle Willis, and then Roy Oswalt. ERA leaders, Clemens, Pettit, Dontrelle, and in the NL, we have Jake Peavy, Carpenter, and Martinez. Now we have our Sporting News All-Stars again. So it can get a little confusing. You got the 2004 and 2005 in the same set design. So interesting ones here. Got go Mark Teixeira, A-Rod, Johnny Damon, Vladimir Guerrero, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, Mariano Rivera, Albert Pujols, Jeff Kent, Miguel Cabrera, King Griffey Jr., Andrew Jones, King Griffey Jr. again. Have different things. He's a resurgent star, was King Griffey Jr. Jason Giambi was a comeback player of the year. Got Chris Carpenter, promising pitcher. We got powerful pitcher, Bartolo Colon. Crafty manager, Ozzie Guillen. Commendable coach, Bobby Cox. And player of the year was Andrew Jones. Then you have your All-Stars for the 2005 game that was played in Detroit. A-Rod, Johnny Damon, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Miguel Tejada, Vladimir Guerrero, Teixeira, Ivan Rodriguez, got Mark Burley, got Bobby Abreu, Carlos Bertrand, Albert Pujols, Derek Lee, Jim Edmonds. We got Aramis Ramirez, really good third baseman his time, mostly with the Cubs. Mike Piazza, Jeff Kent, Chris Carpenter, Abreu Home Run Derby champion. We have the participants, Ivan Rodriguez, got Carlos Lee, David Ortiz, Heath Troy, Andrew Jones, Mark Teixeira, and then Jason Bay. We have our Futures Games cards. So you see some players who became cards, some rookies, guys who became stars, like Hanley Ramirez was really good for a period of time. Nelson Cruz, obviously, this is his rookie, first-year card. Edwin Encarnacion, not his rookie, but good player in his time. Retired just a couple years ago. Got B.J. Upton. Francisco Liriano, pretty good player. Adam LaRoche, decent player. Delman Young, decent player. Chris Young, played for a couple good seasons with Arizona. Jason Verlander, 2 rookies for him this year. This one's not as coveted as the other one. And then we got more update cards. We kind of run through the rest of them. I don't think there's too many big names left here, but if I catch one, I will share it. But that's about it. It was definitely a really exciting season for me personally, because the White Sox winning the World Series still, even to this day, kind of surprises me, because we were the perpetual underdog, and then we suddenly weren't. We were the best team in baseball. Kind of caught me off guard when it did it, and has still even to this day, as now we are the worst team in baseball again. Matt Kemp, it's his first-year card. Almost a Triple Crown winner. One season. Carlos Gonzalez, pretty good player during his time. Jared Weaver, pretty good pitcher. Ryan Braun. Jacoby Ellsbury, pretty good for a few seasons. Got a pretty big contract as a result of it. Ryan Zimmerman. Got Jay Bruce in the back here. And kind of closing out with the last card, I believe it was Mike Castellano. I think this was one of the other cards in the set. And then we have Andrew McCutcheon, which is not his first card, but a draft pick nevertheless. All right, that is it. I know it was a longer video. Hope you guys kind of enjoyed it. Enjoyed walk down memory lane with the 2005 top set and update and the 2005 White Sox.